Hi, this is Nick with welltrax, and we are going to do a driver training tutorial on how to use the tablet that's inside the truck. So here we are looking at the home screen of the tablet, and we have 5 different apps. The first one is welltrax, so this is where you'll log in each day to actually do your loads. We have the rescue app. This will allow a welltrax support team member be able to remotely log onto your tablet and help you out, but that's only after you give them permission to do so. Then we have Google Maps, the Play Store, and also settings. So let's launch welltrax to get into the system. So the first thing you'll see is that it checks for an update. So you'll notice that this app is currently up to date. Now, if the app was not up to date, I want to walk you through the various steps that you would need to take to be able to update the app. So here you'll notice that it's checking for the update. Then to the right, it'll actually automatically take you to the Play Store and land you on the welltrax app. All you need to do is click Update. After you click Update, a pop-up will happen. You'll just click the Accept button. After you hit Accept, it'll start downloading the app. And then all you do is you'll click this Open button. Once you click the Open button, it will take you back to the login screen. You will then proceed to type in your username and password. So let's clear out the username. And I'm going to type mtarver. Then I'm going to click the Next button, which will take me to the next field. Type in the password, and then I can click the Go button. That will then log me in. I could have also closed the keyboard down and clicked the Login button. So let's sort of minimize this keyboard here. So now I'm going to select my truck. I'm going to type in my odometer, enter my trailer, and then populate my location. So first I'm going to select truck. You can see I just have one truck here. Now, if my truck number didn't show up here, I would just call operations or dispatch and ask them to add that truck to my name in the portal, and then you'll be able to select from that truck once they do that. I'm going to enter the odometer. Select the trailer. And then if your location doesn't automatically populate, then you'll just type in the current city that you're in. So let's just say Elk City, Oklahoma. I'm then going to hit the Next button, and then that is going to load my inspection report. So here are all the fields that you would fill out for an inspection report. You'll notice that these are actually scrollable to see all the fields. If you needed to mark anything that had an issue, you would just check that mark, and then that would show that there's an issue there. If you were to say that everything's okay, you would want to leave all of these blanks. You could also enter in remarks or comments that you'd like to report back. You can take a picture and a video of any defects that you see that you want your operation manager, your mechanic, your dispatcher to see, because all these pictures and videos will get sent back with each DVIR that you fill out. You can also select your vehicle condition. So there's 4 different options: defects corrected, defects do not need corrected for safe operation, vehicle condition satisfactory, vehicle condition unsatisfactory. If you choose one of these 3, then the software will allow you to proceed. If you choose unsatisfactory, it will not. So I'm just going to choose satisfactory. And I'm going to click the Save button. So now we're on the home screen of welltrax. So in the top left corner here, we have loads. So this is where you go to actually do your loads. You have the Map View button. This would actually open up Google Maps. Maintenance, this would allow you to enter maintenance records. Fuel purchase, this is where you would enter fuel purchases you had. Bluetooth, you would come in here if you wanted to pair to a new printer. Messaging, if you wanted to send a message to another driver or to a dispatcher, you could do that here. Policies, if your company decides to enter policies and want to have, and they can send those down to the tablet, this is where you would see those policies at. Shift, this is where you'll come at the end of the day to be able to submit your shift report and log out. And then here's a log out button if you want to log out of the software. I also wanted to show you that there's some shortcut menus up here. So when you're in any of these screens, these shortcut menus are always visible. So this would take you to the load screen, this would take you to messaging, this would take you to the home screen, which is the screen that we're on, and this would take you to settings. So let's click on load to see how many or which loads we have. So you'll notice that we have two loads here. So this is our first load, this is our second load. And the first load is for an account Chesapeake. We're going to a lease site called the Thurman Horn. We're going to be pulling out a tank 3. We're then going to take it to Oil Depot Arnett, and then the loaded miles will be 45. The next load will be the Bobby Joe, pulling out of tank 1, going to Arnett, and it's a 46-mile run. Anytime a dispatcher makes a change to your dispatch, you will receive a pop-up on the tablet that says your dispatch has changed. And you'll click OK. It'll then take you back to this screen so you can see the change that occurred. If for some reason that pop-up didn't happen, you can always come down here to the refresh button and press refresh, and then that will then pull all the loads from the portal that the dispatcher just gave you. So why don't we start this first load, and I'm going to come down here to this bottom right corner where it says start load, and you'll notice that there's this orange button with 2 arrows. So anytime you want to proceed to the next screen, you always just click the orange button. So I'm going to click Start Load. So the next screen we come to is sort of just a trip summary. So it shows the current location of the tablet, and then I'm driving to this lease, and then I'm going to the oil depot. So this is just a visual representation of what I'm about to do. On the left-hand side, this is more of a text version of that same exact information. So I'm going to be starting, and then I'm going to go to the lease site. I'm going to be working obviously on this segment right now, and eventually I'm going to go to the depot and then finish this load. So next, I'm just going to click the orange Start Load button. So now I'm on the driving to lease site screen. So in the top left corner here, we have the lease site number, we have the lease site name, who the account is, who the operator is. If the dispatcher added any written directions for this load or this lease site, that would populate here. Post entry point directions would show up here if the dispatcher decided to give you entry point latitude and longitude and have you navigate to that entry point. If you did navigate to that entry point, then Google doesn't really understand the road from that entry point to the lease because it might be some 5-mile dirt road. Well, this is where the dispatcher would actually type in the directions to get from that entry point all the way to the lease to help you get in there. There's also an instruction button, so I'm going to click on that. This is going to give you a lot more detailed information about this lease. So you can see the lock combo, the lease site instructions, the H2S, if it's an H2S well, if it's a dry haul, if it's a bobtail, the bill of lading number, the confirmation number, the load instructions, and then if there were any phone numbers that got entered in for this lease site, so this could be like a pumper's number or it could be like a flow hands number. All this information can be entered into the portal and the dispatcher can add that. So then that information would get sent every time a load is done off this lease. I'm going to click OK. You can see the geocode button right now is grayed out. That's because this lease site already has a latitude and longitude built in the system. If the lease site didn't have a latitude and longitude built in the system, you would be able to click on this geocode button, and then you would be able to geocode that lease site. So when you're on the pad, you could press this button, and then it would save that latitude and longitude for this lease and send it back to the portal. So the next time the driver comes to this site, they'll have directions to get exactly to it. On the right-hand side here, we have Google Directions. So these directions are actually dynamically scraped based upon your current location all the way to the lease. And so this is scrollable. So you can actually see turn-by-turn directions of how to get to this lease. If you didn't want to read through each one of these and pay attention that way, you can always click the Navigate button. The Navigate button will take you into Google Maps. So I'm going to click Start Navigation, and that is going to open up Google Maps, and then this will allow me to choose a route and then start turn-by-turn directions to the lease from my current location. So here I can see sort of a visual of where I'm at. And then on the left-hand side, it's saying it's going to take 16 hours and 9 minutes. So if I press this button right here, this will actually launch me into turn-by-turn directions with voice commands on how to get from my current location all the way to the lease. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do now is go back into welltrax. Now, if I use those turn-by-turn directions for navigation to go all the way to the lease, when I get within 200 to 300 feet of the lease, it is going to have a pop-up box that's going to sort of auto-arrive me. It's going to ask me if I'm at the lease. If you are at the lease, you just click yes, and that will take you to the next screen. If you're not at the lease, you would just click the no button, and that would take you back into turn-by-turn directions for navigation. Another way to get to the next screen is to click the Arrive at Lease Site button. So you just click on this, and that will take us to the next screen. It's just going to confirm that you're at the right lease. So I click yes. And now we're on the lease site pickup screen. So in the top left corner here, this is all of our timestamps. So you can see that there was an arrival time of 6:17 or military time 18:17, and then our load time counter starts. So the load time is going to count up to the amount of time that the customer gives you free at the lease. So let's just say that this customer gives us 60 minutes free at the lease before I start charging for wait time. This will count up to 60 minutes, and the moment it hits 60 minutes, wait time will start counting for you. So you don't need to keep track of this any longer. You'll be able to actually just have the system do it for you. There's also the notes and additional charge section. So I'm going to click on this button. When this pulls up, if you ever wanted to signify that you had a chain up for this load, you could put the chain up here, and sometimes companies charge for chain up. If you had any wait time, that wait time would show up here. If you have wait time, the system is going to require you to put in notes. If you ever had wait time that you didn't want to charge for, let's just say that you had some equipment issues on the lease and you didn't want to charge the customer for that, you would just click on the clear wait time button, which would zero out your wait time, and then you won't need to type notes. Let's just say in this instance we had to do rerouted miles. So let's just say that there was a bridge out and we had to go an extra 4 miles out of our way to get to this lease. You would just type rerouted miles, and I'm going to close down the keyboard here just so I can see it. So you'll notice that the rerouted miles are in red. That means it's required. So I need to put in notes here to justify why am I charging for this 4 miles. So I'm just going to say bridge was out on way to lease. And I'm going to click next. So if I had a reject, my reason would show up here, and the reject notes would have to be populated here. This is a required field to justify why are you doing the reject. And there's also a place for other notes. So let's just say that you want to inform the pumper that tank 4 has really high bottoms. Please clean out. This would be a good place to communicate that information, and that would get printed on the ticket. So now I'm going to click the Done button. The next button is Instructions. So this is the same button that was on the previous screen that gives you additional information about the lease. Picture and Video. When you click on Picture and Video, you have 2 different options. The first option is a receipt picture. So if you ever get a receipt from that lease, if someone ever hands you something and your company wants to record that, you could click on this button, and then you would be able to take a picture of the receipt. And when you take that picture, it actually gets tied to this ticket, and it's also known that it's the receipt picture from the lease. If you wanted to take another picture, you just click on this other picture video. That's going to pop up the picture video button, and so here you can see I can take a picture or I could record a video. So I'm just going to take a picture. And when I take that picture, it pulls up the camera of the tablet, and so I'm just going to take a picture here. And then in the bottom right corner here, you can see I clicked the save button. And then here is the picture I just took. You can take multiple pictures and multiple videos, and these pictures will get sent back with this ticket back to the portal. So some good reasons on why you might take some pictures or videos. Let's just say that you had a reject and you want to take a picture of the test tube, of actually showing that the high BS&W, you could take a picture of that. If there was an issue with a valve that you wanted to show to the dispatcher to be able to send that to someone over at the company who operates the well, you could take a picture of that. And so you could take lots of different reasons to do that, and all that information gets sent back to the portal. So now we're going to focus in on all of the ticket entry information here. So you always are going to start over here in this status button. So right now it's accept. So I'm going to click on this button, and you'll notice this is where you decide, am I going to accept this load or am I going to reject this load? So if I were to reject the load, you'll then realize there's a pop-up here that says select reject reason. If I select this reject reason, here are all the reasons why I would reject. If you ever needed to add a reject reason, you can actually contact your operation manager or your dispatcher, and they can add it immediately. So I'm just going to select high bottoms. Okay. I'm going to switch this actually back to an accept load versus a reject. So the next thing you're going to choose from is the product type. So when I select product type, I have two different options here. I have UN 1268, which is condensate, and I have UN 1267, which is crude oil. So let's just say I'm going to be hauling crude oil on this one. Then you'll notice over here you have the tank is filled out for tank 3. So that means that the dispatcher most likely knew that the pumper said, hey, please pull out of tank 3. Now, if you ever showed up at the lease and tank 3 didn't have any oil, you can just press this button, and all of the other tanks that are on this site are going to show up. So you could select a different tank if you needed to pull out of that one. Some other things that I wanted to mention is sometimes when you come to a lease, it might say driver select. Driver select means that the dispatcher didn't know which tank they wanted you to pull out of. So they selected driver select, and so then you would just then select the tank that you want to pull out of once you get to the lease. The last option that might show up here is something that says call dispatch. So call dispatch means that the dispatcher didn't have any tank information when he sent you to this lease. You would just call the dispatcher, and then he or she then would be able to add the tank information on the lease, and you would pretty much just give them how many oil tanks there are, what the height is, what the volume is, and then they would add the BPI. And then once they save that on the portal, you would just come to this button and click this refresh button. That would then go grab all the new tank information and populate it here so you can complete the ticket. Next, you have gauge type. So I'm going to click on gauge type, and there's three different options. There's hand gauge, trailer, and LAC. Hand gauge is going to ask you to enter a top gauge and a bottom gauge. So this means that you can get on top of the tanks and properly test the oil. Trailer gauge means you can't get on top of the tanks and you needed to do like a belly line load. All you're going to be required to do there is enter in your gross barrels, and you won't have to enter in your bottoms, your top temperature, or your bottom temperature. LAC would be if this was a meter lease. You would type that, or you would enter this this option, and you would just put your start meter and your end meter. So let's just pretend that we're doing a hand gauge. So now I'm going to go through and I am going to type in all of my information. So let's just say that we're going to pull 12 feet, 5 inches. I'm going to click the go button. I'm going to say that's a 1/4 inch. My bottom gauge, let's say that's 4 feet. 1 inch, click go. My 1/4 inch will say 0. And it's asking for my bottoms, so I'm going to put my bottom height. So let's just say that's 0, and let's say that it's 8 inches. And let's say my 1/4 inch on that is also 0. Now it's asking for temperature information. So let's say my top temp is 45. My next temp is 42. Let's say my observed is 43. Now it's asking for gravity. So let's say I plug in my gravity of 45, hit next. Now it's asking for BS and W. So let's just say it's 6/10. I'll put 0, and then here's my decimal point, 6. And then hit the next. Now it's asking for my seal off. So I'm going to make one up. So this is like a seal off number. Click go. Now it's asking for the time that I took the seal off. So let's say I'm going to use the current time that it populates that I took the seal off. Now I'm going to put my seal on number. And put my seal on time. Now one thing that's really important is my seal on time always has to be greater than my seal off time, and my seal off time always has to be greater than my arrival time. If I don't do that, I'm going to actually get a validation error. When I click the print button, it's going to warn me that something's wrong with my ticket because it logically has to make sense. I'm now going to type in my odometer. So let's just say it's now 3050. All right. So one thing that I'm going to do here is I want to get a validation error just to show you what that looks like. So let's just say I'm going to change my top gauge to 22 feet. Let's say I pretend I accidentally typed that in wrong. If I were to click the print button right now, I wanted to show you that, oh, we got a problem here. Top gauge cannot be greater than 20 feet. So it understands that tank 2 is a 20-foot tank. So it's warning me there. It also warned me that my VAX value of my gross barrels can't be above 220 because the trailer I'm using is a 220-barrel trailer. So these validations are going to help you to not make ticket errors. So I'm going to switch that back from the 22. I'm going to go back to the 12. And you'll notice that my gross barrels update. So one thing I failed to mention is you don't need to calculate gross barrels anymore. So it's going to take your top gauge minus your bottom gauge, multiply it by that BPI to calculate your barrels. If anything's ever wrong here, you can just call dispatch and let them know that the BPI seems wrong. I also want to show you split pickup. So if you had to split this pickup between another tank on this lease, you would click the split pickup button. It would then ask you, are you sure you want to split it? So let's just say yes, I'm going to split it. You then would be able to select from the remaining tanks that are on this lease and fill out that split ticket. And so you would fill out all this information, and then you could then have a split, and then it would print 2 different tickets on this lease. If you accidentally click the split pickup button, you can click this X button, and that will delete the split. I sort of wanted to show you here that this shows 2 out of 2. I can hit this left button, which would take me to the 1 out of 2, so it would take me to the first ticket. And I can flip back and forth. But let's just, for now, I'm going to say I'm going to delete this ticket. Let's just say I accidentally clicked it. It's now confirming, do you want to delete the current split? So I'm going to say yes. And then you can see now it's just 1 out of 1. So now let's print the ticket. So I'm going to click print. It's going to ask me, are you sure you want to pick this up? I click yes. It now is going to ask for the number of copies. Let's just say I want to increase this. I just hit the plus button to 3 copies, and then I would print the print button. But for now, I'm going to click cancel because I don't have a printer here. After you print, you'll still have one more chance to be able to correct information. So let's say you print that ticket out and something doesn't seem right. You can make an adjustment and you can print a new ticket. But once you hit this proceed button, you can't change it. You'll have to call dispatch to make the change. So let me click proceed, and then it's just going to take me to the next screen. So this is going to give me a visual overview of where I am, and and then it's going to show that I'm going to this oil depot. Here is the segment that I'm working on. You can see the blinking light saying you're going from the lease to the depot, and I'm going to click proceed. So now we are on the driving to oil depot screen. So in the top left corner, we'll see the oil depot number, the name of the oil depot, the account, and the operator. In the bottom left corner, we have the instruction buttons. If we open that up, this will have additional information about the oil depot, including the lock combo, if there's any special instructions. Again, your bill of lading and confirmation number, the load instructions, and any phone number or contact information for that oil depot. Now I'm going to click OK. If we did not have a latitude or longitude in the system for this oil depot, you would be able to geocode that. Right now that's grayed out because that latitude and longitude is already in the system. We also have driving directions from your current location to the oil depot. So you can read through these one by one, and this is a scrollable screen. Or you can click the navigate button like we did on the lease site, and then it'll actually give you turn-by-turn directions with voice commands on how to get to the oil depot. So now I'm going to press the orange arrived at oil depot to arrive. It's going to ask for a confirmation that you're there, so I'm just going to click yes. So in the top left corner, we have our arrival time, and you can see the unload time has started to count. So this will count up to the unload allowance set up for this customer, so that in many cases about 60 minutes is usually free. And then let's just say once it hits 60 minutes, it then will switch over to wait time. You also have notes and additional charges, so it's the same that's on the lease site screen, but that's specific to the oil depot. So you could enter in wait time notes here. You could enter in your rerouted miles and additional notes you'd like to leave. The instruction button is the same button that was on the previous screen, which will give you additional information about the oil depot. And then the picture video is the same as the lease site screen, except this is specific now to the oil depot. So if you were to click on picture video, again, you can take a picture of the receipt. So if someone at the oil depot gives you a copy of their printout, you could take a receipt picture, and then that will get sent back to the portal. Or if you want to take another picture video of something else at the oil depot, you could do that as well to capture that. I'm going to click cancel. You can also enter in your start and end meters, and then any rail car information that you potentially could capture. And then finally, you're just going to end your ending odometer that you when you're at the oil depot. I'm going to click the print button once I know that everything is entered properly. It's just confirming that we have a drop-off here. So currently I don't have a printer set up, so it's asking me to configure settings. So I'm just going to click no, just because I'm not going to print. And then I'm going to hit the proceed button. So when I hit proceed, it's either going to take me into the next load that I need to work on, or it's going to take me back to the load summary screen if I'm completed with my shift. So the last step that you would want to do when you're done with your dispatch each day is you would click this submit shift button, and you'll just want to plug in your start odometer, and then you'll plug in your end odometer. So I'm just going to make up two different values for that. And then the last thing you'll want to do is just click this submit shift report and log out. And when you do that, it'll log you out of the software, and then all of your transactions will be sent back to the portal, and the dispatchers will have all of your information. So I also wanted to cover a few other additional bits of information that you might come across. So in the software, if there's ever like a bug, then there's a warning message that's going to pop up that says, unfortunately, welltrax has stopped. In the case that this happened, please always make sure to click the report button. This will send all the information back to the developers and the support team to help them figure out exactly what happened and resolve it moving forward. If you try to log out and you still have incomplete loads, then you're going to receive this warning message. And it'll just say that not all loads are completed. Are you sure you want to log out? This is just a warning to let you know that there's still loads to be completed for that day. Lastly, you might see a warning message when you log out that says unsend transactions. Please wait, 3 transactions unsent to dispatch. Please log out when data connectivity is stronger. So typically you'll receive this error message when you have a data connection issue and you might not be in an area that has good 3G or 4G coverage. So you'll want to make sure to drive to a place that has better coverage. Now, if you notice that your tablet does have really good coverage and you're still getting this error message, then I would highly recommend to call the welltrax support team, and I'm going to give you their contact information in just a moment. So some tips to follow each day. So I would recommend to always print and store a backup copy of the run ticket. Just in case there's a transmission issue, you always want to make sure to have this so that you can take a photo of that ticket and then be able to email it or text it to someone so that they could enter the information into the system. Always keep the tablet and printer plugged into the inverter or into the cigarette lighter at all times. Confirm the tablet and printer are getting power and are charging before you start your day. The last thing you want to have happen is to show up at a lease site and all of a sudden your printer doesn't work and you can't complete the load and actually print a ticket. Always submit your shift and log out of welltrax every day. Power off the tablet and printer every day. This is really important because when you power off that tablet and you power off that printer, when you power it on the next day, it refreshes the cache and the memory within both the tablet and the printer, and that really helps the performance of the tablet and printer. So I would highly recommend doing this every single day. And then lastly is confirm sufficient amount of printer paper is on hand before you begin your day. Obviously the last thing you want to do is be sitting at an oil depot and you don't have any more printer paper to print the run ticket. So lastly, I want to make sure that you had some contact information for the welltrax technical support team if you have any questions or concerns. Our phone number is 203-401-6004, or you can send us an email at support@welltrax.com. So I would recommend entering this information into your contact book right now, or taking a photo of this so that you always have our contact information in case you have any questions or concerns. So I want to thank you for your time. We're excited to have you as a welltrax customer, and have a great day. Thank you.